This is Kathy from Gadget Stop 321, and in today's video I'm going to be taking a look at the Pilot Custom Heritage 91. Now, this is a pen that's not available from authorized Pilot retailers in the United States, and that's a shame because I'm really fond of this pen. Now, the pen that is available from U.S. retailers in this price range is the Custom 74, and just like the Sailor 1911 and the Pro Gear Slim are basically the same pen with different finials, that's what you've got here with the Custom Heritage 91 and the Custom 74. And there's one other notable difference: the clips are different. Other than that, the only differences between the two pens are the finishes that they come in. And that's one of the reasons that the Custom 91 kind of caught my eye. The Custom 74, at least in the United States, is only available in demonstrator models. And I noticed on eBay that the Custom Heritage 91 is available in these opaque finishes. Currently, the Custom Heritage 91 is available in just all black. And then there's also this dark blue model that has black finials. And then there's also an orange model with the black finials. And when I first saw the new color combinations when they came out, I was really drawn toward the orange, but I waited because the price of Golden Nib pens has started creeping up. And since these pens are only available from Japan for the most part, getting them new anyway, sometimes you have to wait given the current state of things. So I kind of waited around, but I kept my eye on eBay, and I came across a seller who was selling a used pen from his own collection that was lightly used, and I was able to get it at a good price. Now, when I picked this pen up, it had a medium nib, but it uses a number 5 Pilot nib. So does the Custom 74. Now, these nibs, these number 5 nibs, are pretty thin and feel very delicate. So I wouldn't recommend switching nibs or pulling the nibs unless you feel like you absolutely have to. So I went ahead and I switched nibs. I've got the fine nib on this one now, and the medium nib is on my Custom 74 demonstrator. And I like this pen. Now, it's been my experience, when you order pens from retailers in Japan, they don't usually come with converters. Sometimes they do, but not usually. So always make sure, if you order one, pay attention to that. My intention when I ordered this one, since it didn't come with a converter, I thought, well, it's an opaque finish. I am just going to use one of my little Pilot converters. For the first inking, I did that, and these Pilot pens are pretty lightweight, and just the balance with that small converter, I just wasn't fond of it. And so I went ahead and ordered another Con 70, and this time I was able to get the new version. And Brian Goulet did a really good extensive video about the differences between the new version and the old version. And so I was able to get the new version. And you can see I've got this pen inked up with Tsukiyo. And the reason I inked it up with Tsukiyo is it looks like a nice match for this color. One of the previous finishes that the Custom Heritage 91 was available in was called Tsukiyo. They had 3 models. There was a Yamabudo, which was a pinky purple, kind of like Yamabudo ink. There was a Tsukiyo, which was a little bit more like the lighter shades that you see in Tsukiyo ink. It was a little bit brighter pen. And there was a Yamaguri, which was a brownish type pen. And I was looking seriously at those models a few years ago, but the finials were the same color as the pen, and the pens just looked, to me, they looked a little plain. I went back and forth. The pens at that time, you could get some really good deals, but I wasn't totally sold on the colors that they were available. And you can always get this pen in just a solid black, and that was always an option. But when the price of gold nib pens started creeping up, I thought, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money on a pen that's not exactly what I want. But when they came out with these finishes that had the black finials, that just added something to it. I really like that. Now, one of the reasons I was drawn to the Custom Heritage 91 is just the length of it. It's because the ends are flatter, it's a little bit shorter than the Custom 74. I love Goulet's website where you can compare pens like this. And it looks like the Custom 74 is about half a centimeter longer. And that's just because the ends are rounded. Now, one of the things I've found with this new Con 70 converter, it fits really tight. You know, sliding it in, attaching it to the pen, it's really tight. And so I have found a few times that when I go to screw the barrel back on, it's the converter's rubbing against the side of the barrel that I don't have it in there exactly straight, even though it looks straight. And so I'll have to kind of wiggle it around and push it down on there a little bit harder. But just having that Con 70 converter in there, it puts a little bit more weight back here because I don't want the ink to dry up in this one. I'll show it in the demonstrator. You've got a lot of metal back on the back part, and so it rests right there in the crook of your hand. It's really nice. Now, one of the things that I was always kind of not fond of with my Custom 74 is that I'm a pen poster, and when I post it, it's not terribly back heavy. Usually I like the weight of the pen to rest right here, and this one rests, you can feel there's a lot of weight right here. So it's not terrible, but it just looks really long. And so aesthetically, it's a nice workhorse pen, but it's not much for looks. So I always thought the Custom Heritage 91, when you post it, yeah, it doesn't stand out to me as being like, whoa, that's a long pen. But even so, I can still feel the weight. Instead of being right here, it's a little bit farther back. And it's not as much shorter posted. It's not as much shorter than the Custom 74 as I thought it would be. Let me try to line these up. Not a whole lot of difference in the length of the pen once it's posted. So when I'm using it, it feels like it's shorter. So I'm happy with it. But I've found myself, since I'm doing more of my writing at home and I'm here at my desk, I actually don't post my pen that much anymore, so it's not as much of an issue. But I do like that I was able to get a pen in an opaque finish. I looked at the Custom Heritage 92. It's a bit more expensive than the 91 because it's a piston filler instead of a cartridge converter. But here in the US, at least, it's only available in demonstrator models. And since I already have a demonstrator Custom 74, I was really wanting an opaque pen. I like to have a variety in my collection. And I just prefer cartridge converter pens. I don't hate the idea of having a piston filler, but I prefer cartridge converter pens. And the Custom Heritage 92 was a bit more expensive because it was a piston filler. There's a little more to it. And so I didn't really want to spend more on a pen that has a feature that I'm not really that interested in. So I was happy that I was able to get a 91. Now I'm going to go ahead and do a writing sample. One of the things I forgot to mention is the type of material that this pen is made of. It feels a lot like the plastic that my Kaweco Skyline Sport was made out of. It doesn't feel like a fragile or brittle plastic. It feels, I don't want to call it soft. It doesn't really feel soft, but it's nice and grippy. I like the feel of this material. I have the pen inked up with Sukiyo, and this is 52 GSM Tomoe River paper. For a fine nib, especially on this Tomoe River paper, it's very smooth. But it's not that glassy smoothness that makes you feel like your pen's going to slide off the paper, or I find that with pens that are that glassy smoothness, my writing is not as neat, but this is just the perfect balance between smoothness and just a little bit of friction. This is a 14 karat fine nib. Nice amount of wetness. Now, in this darker ink, it's not as obvious, but I've found with these number 5 size nibs, and actually with the number 3 nibs as well, the downstrokes are pretty wet. Yeah, and you can see that here. And the upstrokes tend to be a little drier. To the right, we're pretty wet. To the left, also pretty wet. But the upstrokes are just a little bit drier. With some inks, I don't like that, the way it looks. But, you know, it's just a personal preference. With other inks, I like the shading that will give you in your writing. I really like the amount of ink that the Pilot 14 karat nibs put down, especially in the fine nibs. Like I mentioned, if an ink has some pretty shading, you'll really see it. If an ink has some nice sheen, you'll see it in the fine nibs. Alright, one more comparison that I wanted to show was, let's see, I already showed the Custom 74. I just wanted to show the Custom Heritage 91 compared to my Stargazer. My Stargazer has a blue finish to it, and I just thought, since it has the flat tops as well, flat top and bottom, it looks like a miniature version of the Custom 91. Now there are quite a few more differences, like the clip is different, the material is different. This is a brass pen and it's pretty heavy. It's got some real density to it. It uses a number 3 nib instead of a number 5, and I guess this would be a good time to show the difference between the number 3 size nib and the number 5. There's not a lot of difference. They're fairly similar in size. The number 5 is on the right, and it is just slightly bigger. They feel very similar when writing. They're both very smooth writers, have just a touch of softness to it, a little bit of bounce. And I think part of that is because the nib material is pretty thin, like I mentioned earlier. It's not a good idea to be pulling them out and switching them back and forth. I definitely wouldn't disassemble the pen fully every time you clean it, only if absolutely necessary for a deep cleaning. But that is the Custom Heritage 91. Chris Rapp has a video, I think the title of it is the Custom Heritage 91, the best fountain pen, or something to that effect. And it's a really fun fountain pen to write with. Alright, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.